quick spot of baking.
Turn it on and see what it does.
Yeah, the Westinghouse.
Oh, school.
Alright guys, so what we're doing here, as you would have seen just before, we've got to weld the gate provision onto the turbo housing. So when you weld cast, there can be a lot of differing factors as to how it's going to react. I think a lot of it's to do with the nickel content, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. I know enough about metallurgy, but not enough to be giving out solid facts about that sort of thing. But for whatever reason, it can react very differently, different castings. So one of the main things is obviously welding two different materials together. They have very different cooling rates, expansion rates, and shrinking rates, and things like that. So the safest thing to do with cast is to make sure it's preheated, nice and hot, weld whatever you want to weld onto it, and then ensure that it doesn't cool too fast. We used to just, old school stuff, weld your cast thing and then shove it in a bucket of sand so that it cools very, very slowly. We just scored ourselves an oven off Marketplace, so we're going to be using that to do a lot of this stuff. So we're going to preheat the cast housing and then probably use the oven to keep it at a fairly consistent temperature as it gradually cool it. And this just helps a great deal with your new welded piece not cracking as it cools. So as long as you do this, usually all sweet. We don't really have any issues with these things. All we used to do is just use an oxy to get them red cherry hot, and then weld them and chuck them in a bucket of sand, or just even sit them in the sun or something. Just don't cool them too fast is all. So we'll get that happening. We've probably got about enough argon just to do this gate provision, and then we're gonna have to go sort out some more gas. We're just slowly bringing the temp down in the oven, allowing that to cool nice and slow. It's looking awesome, it's gonna be great. I did call Marksville Drive, I got onto them because I had actually called them about some stuff for another conversion, and they just flat out refused to sell just the AC part of this kit. He flat out will not sell it to me. They will not sell it on its own. He was insistent on the phone that this only works running the AC and the alt high mount, which I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. Obviously, you still need to get your crank rotation, so you would run the belt around the crank pulley and then back up over the sidler, then down around alt, up over the power steering. I'm not sure if that's, I'm pretty sure that's how they run from factory anyway. Down underneath the water pump, and then basically from your water pump, you just run this setup, goes back to the crank. There is absolutely no reason that wouldn't, work. But anyway, unfortunately, that just means we're going to have to go back to that Malex Motorsport kit probably, and try and do something with that. Either that, or we get on AutoCAD, get on Fusion, rather, and start drawing up our own kit and make our own to suit a sand and pump, which may be a better way to go. Obviously, that's the sort of time we can't really charge to the customer, but obviously having that up our sleeve for doing more turboed LSs like this is probably not a bad idea either. So, like I said, I'm not sure if there's a lot of demand for something like this. I don't really know. But the fact that we don't want to run coil packs in the standard location when we're relocating to the firewall, we don't have to run a coil pack bracket on top of the coil cover. So we can sort of lop off whatever mounts on the coil cover that we need, and we can mount this compressor. We can have this compressor running as close to this coil, to this rocker cover as we possibly can, and really keep it away from this battery. Because I did measure it up on this engine, even where this is, the very edge of this, we were still only going to be like millimeter clearance. If this battery came all the way to the edge of this tray, that would still be millimeter clearance there. So we could certainly probably situate it a little bit better even, and make our own setup. So unfortunately at the moment, as you can see, it is just a matter of the time involved, which is the problem. There's so much going on. We're so short-staffed. Between me and Rex, we're doing sort of a million people's work at the moment. It's getting pretty stressy, anxious. But anyway, that sucks, really sucks. I'm disappointed that we can't just buy that kit. I suppose that they have issues with selling it to people who couldn't make it work or wouldn't be able to make it work, and then that becomes a problem for them because, I don't know. I'm sure there's reasons, but I really don't understand why this high mount AC setup wouldn't work with a low mount alt. you still get plenty of crank rotation on the crank pulley and everything else. So anyway, whatever. Righto guys, it's come out really, really nice. Look at that, how good does that look? So we're just talking about Rex is gonna actually move this transition from 3 to 3.5. I'm gonna move it back so that it is where the plumb back actually meets the dump pipe. And the idea of that is obviously having the plumb back from the gate basically come into the dump at the expansion, is that should, in theory, once the gate opens, should help draw gas through the turbine better, instead of obviously like backing it up, is the idea behind that, so that we don't have any sort of boost control issues would be the idea. But with the priority flow of having the gate off that manifold, it's definitely not going to be a priority flow issue. 50mm gate should be plenty enough, and it should all work freaking awesome.
My theory there is that basically if you've got the 3 coming into 3.5, basically the gas is going to be slowing down, and then you've got the gate push into it. There's going to be a little bit of turbulence there, but I figure if you've got the 3 further down, where the extra gas from the gate is joining the streamers right at the expansion, it'll help maintain a more constant and consistent velocity through the pipe to try and avoid turbulence. Yeah, because turbulence is what's going to cause back pressure.
Yeah. So it's obvious, like it's not going to be heaps far. It's only going to be about this much of 3-inch. So it's not like it's going to be that big of a deal. Especially right behind the turbine. Obviously, it's so hot that there's hardly any density until it starts to cool as it gets further back. So it should work pretty well. It should be happy days. But yeah, it's looking awesome. Stoked with how that came out, and yeah, we'll just keep on ticking along with it. This is what Rex is fingering out.
Fignabbling.
That's a good tube notcher you got there.
It's fucking excellent, isn't it?
I like it.
I'm thinking about selling them. I better patent the idea.
Yeah. Rex and I were actually just talking, if we're going to have to develop or we're going to make our own high mount AC kit, and you know, we had you would have seen at the start, I don't know if I actually put it in the video, but we do have a few gripes about these particular engine mounts and just the way they're done, and we reckon they could be a little bit better. So we were even talking about potentially just putting out a complete kit particularly for a boosted application in a GU. You know, we could jig one up if it came with our mounts and our bell housing adapter. We could supply a clutch that was going to be rated to a certain output. As long as it was, you know, like we talked, our mounts and bell housing and stuff. We could jig up manifolds, supply it with manifolds, accessory drives to suit the manifold positioning, and a turbo and dump pipe. Could pretty much, do a complete kit if we really wanted to, if there was enough demand for it, which I don't know, there may be. It could be, I don't know. It is something worth considering though. So yeah, drop a comment, let me know what you think.
Cack it.
So yeah, we're putting extra V-bands in the plumb back so that we do have the option. The owner didn't specify that he wants to at all. He pretty much specified he just wants a plumb back, but we decided we'd put an extra V-band in it so that we have the option later if he wants to actually make a party mode pipe, where we can just cap the one on the dump, turn the gate around so it faces forwards, and then make a screamer that sort of comes out in front of the guard, which would be cool as. But anyway, this idea of Patrol Turbo LS conversion kit is definitely bouncing around in my head. It's a problem with me. I get an idea and it just manifests and runs rampant. And yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. It's gonna be cool. But anyway, this is the problem with obviously being just me and Rex and the business at the moment, and always being this busy, is that we just don't have the time to do those sort of things. Or when, I should say, we're in a position where we have some more people working here doing a lot of this sort of work, it sort of frees us up for a lot more time to actually sit down and draw up and develop these things, make jigs, you know, go into that line of work more so. So hopefully we get there. So it's frustrating actually. This morning I jumped online and had a look at King built conversions, and it turns out he had actually developed a high mount AC setup that would suit both Gen 4 and Gen 3. It would be exactly what we would need. But yeah, obviously, unfortunately, I don't think there's any way you can get those parts anymore. I don't think anyone continued to make them after Christian's unfortunate passing. So really, bit of a shame. I think obviously if he was still around, we'd probably exclusively use his gear. He was definitely one of the best in the business when it came to this sort of thing. But looking at his page on Facebook, the last post was obviously before his passing. So I don't believe that you can actually get those things anymore, which is a real shame. But something like that would be exactly what we'd want to pretty much offer. So anyway, we'll see what we can do about it. But Rex is smacking along getting this plumb back welded onto the dump, and it's all coming along awesome. We've got our oval pipe ready to be collected from the sunny coast, so I just got to go get it. I'll probably do that on Friday so that we can continue the dump then. But yeah, it's all coming along. It's all going gravy. It's all coming up Millhouse. So we just had a few more presents arrive for us. This is our twin oil air separator. We're just trying to figure out now where it's actually going to go, but
just move that mod plate.
Can't do that.
Fine, the mod plate was already somewhere else.
I don't know. We'll talk to our mod. Well, obviously we're going to have a guy out to mod plate this anyway, so we'll talk to him about that. But anyway, so that's one thing that's come through. You can see the little wastegate things going on. How good?
I like that. I'm really proud of that.
It's looking awesome. Looking wicked.
Now I've got all this stuff, there's heaps I can go on with. I got the bulkhead fitting, so I can now finish that fuel setup at the back.
Oh yeah, the hanger.
With the main tank. And I've got this, I can't really do much with that.
We got the Defi Advance ZD.
More wiring to do.
So, well, before you do any of that, I want to get the 80.
Yeah, I'm going to do the drain and stuff for that too. Yeah, we'll do that.
Righto guys, cracking along. Rex is sorting out our fuse box situation. So that's coming along there. I think it's probably going to be easiest to just go through exactly what's going on in the fuse and relay box once it's completed. Had a few other things rock up today, which is awesome to continue on going with it. One of them is this specially made button we got done. So this is from Billet Buttons.
Billet Automotive Buttons.
So yeah. Push to play, party mode. So it's a momentary button. Well, not momentary, what do you call it? Switch state?
Latched.
Latched,
Just
yeah.
call it latched.
And that actually lights up the ring on it when it's engaged as well. So the reason for this is that, as you can see, this is actually the perfect size for a 12 volt socket. So you could replace any 12 volt socket with this button and it's happy days. But because we're running the eBoost Street 40 in this thing, one of the things that is somewhat annoying about the eBoost Street 40 is that every time you cycle the ignition, it automatically reverts back to SP1, which is the low boost setting on the eBoost. But because of what we want to do with this car, and the other thing is obviously having the eBoost out in the bay, or in the dash I should say, obviously means anyone can get at it and change settings and mess around with it, which is also not exactly ideal. Not only that, but just the way this dash is set out and with the buttons and everything's already got down here, there was just not really anywhere nice for us to mount the eBoost where it was gonna look nice and work in the dash and, you know, just not stand out and be ugly. And he's gonna have obviously the Defi all-in-one, which is gonna have boost on it anyway. And I think we've actually got another boost gauge there as well. So he doesn't particularly need the eBoost to display boost either. So the eBoost actually has an auxiliary input where you can actually wire a switch to the input to change between SP1 and SP2, or high boost and low boost. So that way we can use the eBoost to get our tune. Once it's tuned, we can actually mount the eBoost up out of the way, out of sight, underneath the dash. Doesn't even have to be seen. And then that'll have a button, a party mode button, which will be illuminated to say that it's engaged, so you'll always know whether it's on or off. And from that switch input on the e-boost, it actually has memory, and it memorizes it. So it's not going to actually revert back to SP1 every time you cycle the ignition. So you can actually leave it in high boost. No one else can touch it or fiddle with the settings and change the boost settings on you. You can't accidentally change them and blow it up or something like that. You know, no silly things like that. Not to mention, it's pretty cool to just have a party mode button. So just a little cool OnSong touch that we put on the project. But yeah, it means that the e-boost will be completely out of sight, out of mind. It'll just have a high and low boost party mode button.
So the way that LED is at the moment is that as soon as you connect either of them to power and ground, the LED is always on.
Yep.
But what all you need to do is just wire it so that there's power to the LED, but then hook the earth for the LED into the switch side of the circuit.
Yep.
So that only once the button's on,
it earths
out
the LED.
It earths out the switch and it earths out the LED.
Yep.
And that way the light will only be on when it's on.
When it's in party mode.
When it's in party mode.
Push to play.
Beep boop.
So anyway, shout out to Billet Automotive Buttons, pretty cool.
Yeah. So he also owns McFry,
yeah,
which is a really, that's one tough car. Yeah, very tough car.
But you can actually get like these custom made with whatever you want on the button face as well as whatever you want on the bezel, like top and bottom. So but yeah, pretty happy with what we decided to get. The big GU. So anyway, this is all good and fun, making this fuse box. So the plan is obviously once Rex sorts that out, this is the other one that we've got. Going to make a bracket off the old fuel filter bracket for the diesel. So that is going to pretty much sit up there, somewhat like that.
It's made.
It's already made, is it?
Yeah, the bracket's made. I just haven't put it on yet.
Look at that. So yeah, Rex made a bracket to sit it there. So that'll be the new fuse box location for all of the conversion side stuff. Really nice and close to the battery, so everything's fused on short runs. Happy days. Should be awesome. Done. Finished. Pack her up, go home.
Hit the key.
So you can see there, guys, using all Deutsch connectors for all the connectors that we're putting in. You can see on his engine loom, Rex has already re-terminated the injector plugs to US car, which will suit our Sonic 1000cc injectors, which are in his manifold, which you saw last episode or the episode before, can't remember. So, you know, all nice plugs. We use all Tefcell wire as well, so it's all nice stuff. Everything that we add, yeah, happy days, party time.
All the wiring that controls the engine's all new, so the only thing we're relying on, the only thing we're relying on for the patrol is just an ignition signal, and the AC pump is still run off the factory control stuff, but that's it.
So we'll pull the bracket off and paint it. So of the 6 relays, we've got one for the start relay, one for EFI, one for the fuel pump, and then we've got one each for each of the thermos, and then we also have an AC fan, which it actually just hijacks one of the thermos for the AC request. So AC request hijacks one thermo, turns it on so that there's air going through the condenser, and then the fans are also triggered on their own through the relay from the ECU. Yeah. Which so is all happy days.
Yeah, it's set up as what you'd call an OR switch, where if the ECU or the AC, either one, it turns that fan on.
Yep.
And then the second fan's only triggered by the ECU.
Yeah.
So away we go.
Anyway, guys, that's more or less how that's going to stay, obviously, apart from terminating the bigger feeds in and out, in the earth, sorry. But yeah, we'll leave that like that until the car's been started and we're sure everything's fine and running properly. After that, we'll go buttoning everything up.
Yeah, nice new button, 12-volt outlet hole. Oop. Bloop.
Ka-chow.
Like a finger in a bum.
Push to party.
Boop, boop.
Righto, boys and girls, Rex has been cracking along with this thing. I haven't been filming much today. I just spent pretty much all day just doing a big clean up, big tidy up. It really soothes my soul and curbs my anxiety a bit with this place at least tied it up to a point where we can get around and walk around and stuff. So much better, less stressy, being able to not look at a million things on the freaking floor that has to be done. So that's great. But anyway, Rex has been steamrolling ahead with this thing. We've got our coil relocation brackets. So they're all mounted up there on the firewall, nice and out of the way of any heat. He's still got that 79 series scoop on it as well, so they'll just cop bulk airflow. So those things will stay nice and cool, which is great. So they're up there, high and dry, which is lovely. Rex is just sorting out the bulkhead connector and getting the pump into the hanger as well. So that's the bulkhead fitting, which is now in that hanger. Happy days. So like we talked about, we'll cap that one. That'll be the return. That's the new feed. Pump will go in there, up into that. Happy days. So before all that this morning, Rex actually got this button sorted and sort of installed, and it's all ready to go. He had to do a bit of mucking around. It wasn't as simple as we had expected. We did actually end up having to run a relay, but it's not that big of a deal. Just a bit more complicated than we had originally anticipated to get it to work the way we wanted it to. But it's sorted out now, so that's great. The owner's pretty stoked with the little button, which is awesome. We're really happy with it. It's a really cool little touch, I feel. So the owner, I don't know if I talked about in the videos yet, but the owner has plans. We're putting a new front bar on this, or he was putting a new front bar on this. We talked to him this morning about the possibility of just getting us his new bar so that we can have it on the car when we build the intake and mount the intercooler and stuff, because the last thing we want to do is fabricate all that up, get it back to him, and have him go to fit his new bar and find that our intercooler piping's in the way or something like that. So it's just annoying things like that you don't want to have to do twice. So he's got to get us his new bar on Monday, which is awesome. So we can swap these bars out and we can actually build the intercooler and intake piping and everything around the bar that's actually going to be on the car, which means it's definitely going to fit, which is wicked. So that's going to be great that we have to only do that once. That's awesome. He's talking about hopefully picking up a new passenger side guard as well, because obviously we don't need this anymore. So that'll be awesome if he's got one of them too. So yeehaw, it's all coming along. Righto, lift pump hanger sorted, pump in. Happiest of days.
We've engraved on the top what is what, so that if he ever undoes it, there's no confusion.
Yep.
And it's pretty easy to not wire the pump up backwards, so should be right.
Yeehaw.
It's a nice little touch, I think, to make things a bit easier.
And that's just the gauge.
Yep.
Happy days.
Gauge and the full level to turn off the sub pump, I think that's what that is.
Yep.
Ah.
Happy days. In the tank it goes.
Yep.
We good. Righto guys, so here we have our dual oil air separator setup. So it's gonna pretty much go up here on the firewall, sort of next to the coils there. Nice and awesome, easy to get at. You can get at the two dipsticks easy enough, and we'll sort something out for the drains.
I've got everything on the way.
Oh, you've got everything on the way?
Yep.
So is your plan just to make drains to the sump?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you going to put a tap in them, or just?
I wasn't going to. It started to get too expensive, too complicated.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just decided not to, because if you get a tap, we've got to change to AN fittings, and I was basically just trying to do it with barb.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh.
So we are sort of getting to a point where this thing where we need to start watching what we spend. We need to start sort of really watching what the budget is doing. It's easy to get carried away with this, but it's one of those things where if you do it all right, if you build one of these things right, properly, you just don't have issues. You never have problems. They're so much fun, and they go forever, and you can tow, and they're wicked. So anyway, the idea with putting a tap in it would be, obviously they're not always consistently draining back to the sump, which means if something happened, if you hurt the engine, and all of a sudden it's starting to breathe quite heavy, you're gonna sort of know, I suppose, or that you've got a means to sort of keep an eye on, or like a health check on the engine. But, for someone who's not really super mechanically inclined or minded, they're probably not really going to make use of it or notice really anyway. It's one of those things. It's sort of just want to build it so that you can jump in, hit the key and drive. You never have to worry about these things getting full. So, yeah, it's one of those things. You should know pretty much if you ever heard it. You're going to know. There's going to be other signs. So, and he's always got us. He can bring it back here if he's ever worried about it, and we can do some checks and stuff. So we'll just set up the drains, but they're going to sit up there, which is going to be awesome. And like we said, We'll have one breather from each rocker cover, and then both of them breathing into the intake pipe to the turbo. And that's happy days. Everything's recirculated. There's no gross fumes that you get through into the cabin and stuff like that. Everything's nice and clean, and yeah, it's going to look great up there. So that's going to be awesome. So we're just waiting for the actual, like the orb fittings and the actual AN line and stuff that we ordered to do all of the lines, so that we know how high those fittings are going to be at the top, so we know how high to mount it on the firewall. So can't mount them yet, but that's what we've got going on there. In the meantime, we've got our new fans here ready to go. So like I talked about, guys, I just ended up ordering aftermarket replacement AU fans. We've got their AU fans there. We use them to dummy up. We've also got some VE fans over there, and we've also got on the 80 radiator there some earlier Commodore fans, and I dummied up all of them, and I figured that the AU was just going to work the nicest, fit the nicest, and they're the biggest fans, and I'm pretty sure they're basically the most CFM. Like the VE ones maybe draw a bit more, but the shroud's a way weirder shape, and it's got heaps more holes in it and stuff, and just the AU ones are just nice and easy, and they fit, and they're very common. So like I said, I just hope that these aftermarket replacements draw just as much or just as well. The actual fan motors work just as well, but they weren't super expensive. So
how much were they?
over $200, just over $200, I think.
Yep.
Maybe closer to 300. Somewhere between 200 and $300. I have to double check.
Yeah, no worries.
Not super expensive. Like when you're looking at a twin 12-inch spal setup, or even twin 14 or 16-inch spal setup, all of a sudden you're looking at sort of $800 worth of just fans without even a shroud. So yeah, you know, it's so much cheaper than something like that, and also relatively easy to find. So I believe we're just going to have to trim this bit off the top, lip off the top, and after that they should fit pretty well without much issue.
Yep.
And it should be pretty happy days. Then we just use some high density foam on the edges to fill in the edges so that they don't damage obviously the radiator fins, and also seal a bit better to the radiator. And it's all happy days. So we run just AU thermos on V80, which is, yeah, twin turbo LS auto. There's a heap of stuff in the front of it that block it up. Yeah, we've got winch, we've got a Warn 12,000 pound high mount winch,
Yes.
intercooler, condenser, radiator, and the 80 series radiators are way smaller, and that thing, even towing cars and stuff, really just doesn't have any issues getting hot. The AU fans work awesome. So after the Supercross yesterday, Rex put in a half day on Sunday. What a G, eh? That's what we need, more employees like Rex. No, but
Good luck.
yeah, pretty much. No one do this sort of crap fun on Sundays. Stupid. Anyway, you got some stuff done, which is really important. So first things first, the oil drain for the turbo return here has been made. As you can see, it's all hard line. There's no soft. Everything's hard line. No issues. Oh damn it. No issues with any sort of heat melting, wearing through things. You know, hard line is just, it's the way of the future, guys. As far as just reliability and peace of mind, hardline everything. It's just like when Rex redid all the manifolds for the Cruiser over Christmas, he remade all of the returns and stuff out of hardline. It's just the way we're trying to pretty much do everything these days. Hardline everything like that, so you've got no issues with wearing through or melting or anything like that, because last thing you want to do is melt something like that or wear through it and just have your engine steadily shooting out all the oil that's meant to be inside the engine, outside the engine, and then spin a heap of bearings. Less than ideal. So, very, very cool. So that's done. What else did you do, Rex? Oh, mounted the fans. The fans have actually been mounted to the rad. So they're ready to go. So Rex just used a bit of angle on the bottom. Oh, if I pointed the GoPro the right way, that'd be a good start. Rex just used a bit of angle at the bottom, which sort of slides into the tank and just mounts at the bottom, and then just a couple of mounts that actually utilize the existing threaded holes on the rad, mounts on the rad support brace. So fans are in, AU fans. Did you put some pinch weld or something on the front of them? Or?
Nah, not yet.
Not yet, going to though?
Don't know if I was really going to bother with it.
Yeah, okay. Oh, we'll sort that out when they come off anyway. As you can see, the bull bar's off. The owner's actually coming out today. He's bringing out his new bar. We've got his bar off ready to go so that he can take that with him. So that's going to be ideal. And we'll talk to him while he's here about where we're going to actually place the Defi all-in-one gauge, where he's going to be happy with it. We'll clear a few things up while he's here, run through a few things, make sure it's definitely exactly how he wants everything when he gets it back. But bar's off. Started dumbing up the intercooler where it's going to go. Going to try and retain the power steering cooler for obvious reasons. That would be ideal. We had this 100mm Zoo core from when we did the HQ, and we had to swap out the 100 for a 75. So we actually had this one in stock. We figured we've got heaps of room to fit it, and obviously we're turning a little S366 fairly hard, so it is nice to have like plenty of intercooler there to keep things nice and cool, keep the IATs down. So perfect opportunity to use this thing. And we've just got it sitting there for now. We're going to wait until the new bar's on to actually get a really good idea of where it's going to go, because ideally we want to place it where we have to modify as little as possible as far as the bar goes. So that gives us a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing with our intake, which we already sort of had an idea. We just need that bar to sort of finalise all of the positioning for everything. What else did you get done yesterday?
Oh, that's pretty much it, just those 3 things.
Yeah. Yeah,
The main things I wanted was just have that bar ready to go. And just do a couple of things. So.
Awesome.
Been ordering more stuff this morning, and I'm about to get back into it. Probably try and start getting the motor a bit more together.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I need some engine room space to build this RB. True story.
Oh, it's all my fault.
Yeah. Engine room's full of your crap. So anyway, guys, I think that can be enough for another episode. I can't even remember where this episode started. I don't want to make them too long, so I'll sign this off for an episode. That's sort of where we're up to. We'll start this episode, a new episode now when this owner gets here, and continue going through a few things. But yeah, this thing's really coming along really well. Absolutely stoked with it. Ordered the plug leads this morning so that we can make them. Everything's going to just be, yeah. We're really excited about this car just being one of those things that we build, goes together, everything works, and hopefully never really have any problems. So, like we always say, we've done a fair few of them now. We've learnt a lot out of doing them, particularly out of our cruiser. We've learnt a lot about heat management and what to do and things like that. So hopefully we've covered all bases with this thing from the very get-go. I'm going to be heading off probably tomorrow to go get the oval tube that we need to finish the dump pipe. So hopefully you'll be seeing that in the next episode. But yeah, looking forward to this thing all starting to come together. It's freaking wicked. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, smash like, smash subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. See you. Bye.